If you had opened your eyes in Delhi, Mumbai, or a remote rural village in India, the first sounds you'd hear would be the laughter of your big family, the steam from the kitchen, and the clanging of cows from the street. Your family was very large. 3 generations lived together under the same roof. There was almost no personal space. But in the midst of all that crowd, you learned to find your own quiet corners. Before we continue with the video, please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing, liking the video, leaving a comment, and sharing it. While your childhood was shaped by the colorful powders of Holi, the candles of Diwali, and the betel leaf prayers of puja ceremonies, the noise of the streets, the constant sound of traffic, and the lack of personal space always kept you a step behind. In tiny houses, 5 people would practically live on top of each other. When you started elementary school, you encountered caste-based divisions. You would notice small but powerful distinctions, like some classmates using separate water glasses, or older kids being made to stand in a different line at the canteen. Even though the veil over this discrimination had thinned, it was still very much present. Over time, you would observe that groups identified as Dalits faced discrimination even in basic areas like access to healthcare or job security. Gender inequality was also felt at every age. Sending girls to school was often a lower priority, and sometimes early marriage plans would come into play. Due to a preference for sons, sex-selective abortions would be performed secretly because of social taboos. Dalit women, at the intersection of caste and gender discrimination, could face intense discrimination and violence on the street, at work, or at home. As you entered your youth, you would feel the impact of severe infrastructure problems and overpopulation. Trying to breathe in the shadow of overcrowded metro cars, power outages, sewage problems, and air pollution. All of these were part of the daily routine. In the mornings, the air would have a toxic smell, like odors that had seeped in everywhere. While the wealthy clung to air purifiers, most people couldn't afford such a luxury. When she got to university, the chaos of India became even more apparent. On one hand, there was international pride with the space agency ISRO's Moon and Mars missions. On the other, the fate of those living in slums on the outskirts of the city. ISRO's Chandrayaan-3 mission made India the 4th country to land on the Moon. The NISAR satellite initiative, on the other hand, stood out as a revolution both in science and disaster management. At the same time, ISRO's Anti-Satellite Command Center, developed to counter military space systems and anti-satellite threats, was also a critical step for defense. While experiencing national pride, you couldn't help but think about how access to this technology was still limited. The political climate was always a hotbed of debate. Blogs and discussions about the caste system and social inequality were on the rise. For example, social movements where Dalit youth tried to lead change themselves would be featured in blogs. But in real life, serious discrimination in education, employment, and healthcare still persisted. Your first love life was usually calm. It was about sharing sweets during festival evenings, exchanging messages, and taking a few laps around the garden on your bike. You expressed your feelings not by shouting, but through facial expressions and simple gestures. Within the innocence of romance, you experienced a quiet yet intense feeling all your own. When you wanted to start a family, you were caught between traditional and modern values. Arranged marriage was still common. Most of the time, your family's decision took precedence over your own wishes. The dowry system, not being able to receive an equal share of inheritance, and similar issues were among the main reasons women remained under social pressure. When you reached old age, the pace of life slowed down a bit more. As an elder in the family, you would usually live in the same house as the younger generation and be respected and honored in a society rooted in tradition. Sitting at large tables where your grandchildren ran around and the elders' opinions were sought would make you happy. However, you could also face the problem of social isolation brought on by urbanization and changes in family structure. Especially in big cities, the number of elderly people living alone was increasing as young people moved away or emigrated abroad. The inadequacy of state elderly care and health services could sometimes put you and your peers in a difficult situation. Your relationship with nature would be as complex as the diversity in the country. You would be born right in the heart of a geography that stretches from the misty peaks of the Himalayas to the waterways of Kerala, from the western deserts to the tropical rainforests of the east. The mystical bond that the tribes living in villages formed with nature would also contain the sense of prayer that you, living in a modern city, might feel melting away as you stare at a screen. Life in India, where hardships are intense, would be filled with the caste system, gender inequality, environmental pollution, and lack of infrastructure, but positive aspects like traditional arts, Bollywood melodrama, religious diversity, and achievements in space and science would also add color to your life. Being born in India meant being part of a story that is patient, proud, partly painful, but layered. both while walking on broken roads and with eyes looking up at space. Don't forget to write in the comments which country you want to see in the next video. You ask, we deliver.